Hey, everybody.
Hey there, VBATs. How's it going today?
Going fine. I've got a banger of a headache right now. How are you?
Doing all right. Juggling triple bookings of scheduled stuff today. Everybody wants to have meetings at the same time.
Maybe you should close the container, Vincent.
Mm,
Might help with the headache.
Sig kill.
You're open.
Actually, this is probably a sig ill, but anyway. You're saying actionable items and close the thing.
Yeah, and the actionable item recordings for the reference type working group. They were wondering
Oh,
who uploads those.
that's me.
I figured that's why you didn't want to meet today.
Oh, I scrolled through it and I didn't see any agenda items. It's all like future possible topics.
Sometimes
Nothing for today.
HackMD can be funny. It remembers the last time you were there and doesn't update for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was saying all kinds of bad stuff about Josh this week, and so he wanted to see the replay so he could figure out everything I said about him.
That's good. I'm in a precarious way with different machines right now. I think I have to do that on my Linux machine, which is not currently in a good state.
When it does happen, so not pushing for immediate response on getting it updated. Are we going to put it in the same YouTube channel?
Yeah, I have been. I uploaded a few months of the rough type working groups, but I probably haven't done it in a month.
Okay. Makes it easy to find for me. So yeah, other than that, and I do want to kind of slow walk this in case people are still joining in. I only had two little issues on there. Well, one little issue of my own, and then the other one kind of popped in there. I thought maybe might be worth a little chat about. That wasn't mine, but I put my name by it anyway. I can throw the screen share on so that people can follow along. This is the little one, which is 902 over an image spec, which is everyone keeps asking what on earth we mean when we say ignore. And so I figured I would update the little extensibility thing. If I view this file, we say it's all that good stuff and that they must ignore unknown properties. And then I just had an extra line there that just said, hey, if you're storing or returning a manifest in a content addressable store, you shall not modify the content. So that's what ignore means. You don't touch it. There may be better ways to say it. There may be other things we want to say in here, but I figured at least get a starting point in there and get the conversation going.
Okay, let's see.
I can bump this font up to a little bit for people.
Would it also mean that I guess also ignore implies you shouldn't err on unknown properties?
Yeah, and I think the first line covered that one pretty good,
That's what
which
it's in
was
there. Yeah.
implementations that are reading and processing must not generate an error. So I was going your direction. I saw that was already up there.
Yeah, no. No worries. That seems
The only other thing I could think of was if we needed something in maybe distribution spec along the lines of if a registry wants to filter and say, hey, I don't accept this because I don't recognize what's in there, maybe we want to document what the return code should be, the HTTP return code.
If it's wait, say that state again.
And this might be for
The distribution spec, but yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking of like AWS when they did some of their filtering. Other people might be doing that too. In distribution spec, we document all the different return codes. If you do X, Y, or Z, I don't think we have anything in there that says, hey, if you're filtering on these things for unknown content in there, what
I guess
should
if you're having it say that you must not err on unknown properties.
well, we're saying you
Um,
shouldn't. We're saying anybody that's reading and processing shouldn't generate an error. But does that mean that a registry is required to accept everything?
hmm.
I'm trying to walk a halfway ground here and see how many people I can make happy at once.
Shame on you for doing. Oh, that's good.
We have anyone that wants to speak up from the AWS side on their thoughts on that? Because that's the biggest one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like the right place. And I think there is some wording around it. And but technically the AWS space registry is not currently compliant because of that, because of the wording.
Sorry, I wasn't fully paying attention, and then I heard that you were looking for someone from AWS. So
No, he's just trying to find an in-between space of AWS functionality and this defining these words like ignoring or whatever unknown properties.
I was seeing, do we want to just specify this one change over here, which is to our extensibility clause? So we're in here at the top and we say, you know, for anybody reading and processing, they must not generate an error if they encounter something that's unknown. And for implementations that are storing and returning, since it's a content addressable store, they shall not modify the content. That's kind of the one line we just added in there. What I'm wondering from the AWS side is, does it make sense to document if for some reason a registry wants to reject some content for any reason? We've seen this from even like Docker Hub says, well, hey, we want to filter on media types. So it's not just AWS, but I don't think we have a Docker Hub representative over here. Do we want to document on push what the return code is? You know, right now we've got like a push his manifest blob unknown, but you know, it may reject it. But do we want to just document what the return code is over here?
So I'm going to speak on behalf of myself, not on behalf of ECR, because I'm not, on there. I think that it is reasonable in a specification to say that there are errors that can be returned in certain situations, and then to define what those errors might be. That, of course, might be different than the current behavior of ECR if you're introducing an error code that ECR is not returning today. So I know that ECR is not fully compliant in terms of its return codes with everything today, or in terms of its behavior with respect to unknown properties, because ECR does not allow unknown properties. And documenting a different return code would then, force us to go and change that if we want to be compliant as well.
Yeah, so if we might want to just go and look at what the current return code is and see if that makes sense to us. And that way we give you a little bit less work.
Yeah, that would be helpful. I don't know if the current return code from ECR is meaningful or not. I haven't looked at it recently.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it in a long while either. So it wouldn't be hard for me to pull up, and I can easily break things. I'm good at that part. Got the accept in there. I think somewhere in here we document at least one or two other things. So I'd have to go digging through, but this is kind of what I'm thinking of, is just when we do the push, just set that up. No worries, Sam. So other than that, questions, concerns on this one? I mentioned this was a quick one, so I don't think there's probably going to be a lot of conversation on this part. It might just be more of, do we want to add something to distribution spec on the other half? Last call on this one. Going once, going twice. Said.
Yeah, sorry. So for Koi.io specifically for unknown blobs, we return a 404. I don't know if that's according to spec, but again, like the spec doesn't tell which specific error to return.
Is that for a blob that's not found, or for a blob that doesn't conform to your filtering requirements?
It's unknown blob, I believe. Yeah, it's unknown blob.
Yeah. I think if it's unknown, that's one. The one I'm looking for, I have to dig through this a little bit farther. Let's see, push and manifest. We need to set the content type. It's supposed to give us a 201 created.
Yeah.
And then we do document the 404 and the 413. So I'm just thinking there might be a potential to have one more return code in here of saying doesn't comply to our, doesn't comply to our policy of whatever that is.
Yeah, we have a whitelist of acceptable block, like manifest types that we allow, and anything else we return unknown block, which right now is a 404.
Okay. Yeah, and you're probably following the spec as best you can, because that's pretty much all we say in here.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the language is a bit unclear around that area.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this area? Last call. All right, so I might just open up an issue on this side and get some more conversation going on GitHub before trying to actually push a change, and going out and looking at what other registries are doing right now, just to get a good idea. 404 might be good enough. Bets, how you thinking over there?
Poorly. Sorry. No,
No
I'm- no particular opinions right now.
Okay. So that was the quick one. This one might be a bit more. They wanted to deprecate OCI, which as soon as I see those two words in the same sentence, I get panicky. And really what they want to do is document. Let's see if they put it in the content over here. They're doing a couple of annotations they want to add. And let me just go into the change itself. So this is 903 for anybody following along, also image spec. And they wanted to add image support end of life. They wanted to add image support end of support. And they wanted to add image support info. And I think that's it. I threw some comments out there. I'm not a maintainer, so it's just me thinking out loud. But the idea here was they want to be able to communicate to end users that, hey, this Ubuntu image that we released 4 years ago isn't supported, shouldn't be used, it's deprecated. And they're hoping that runtimes can even spit that out to the end users when they try to pull out an old unsupported version of the image, that they get some errors coming back that just says, hey, this is not valid. You should not be using it anymore. With the goal that hopefully users start updating their base images they're using for things and stop running old, deprecated, unpatched out support stuff.
Are they? I haven't read all the backstory. Is this some pattern that they're already using? I guess with their own annotations, they're just wanting them to be first class.
They're definitely asking for them to be first class, and they put a lot of effort into all the description in there. I think they're trying to make this mirror what their current internal process is. but I don't know if they have existing annotations. But they did want to separate apart the end of life, which they were categorizing as we're going to stop doing new features, we're going to stop doing new updates, but you may still get security updates from the end of support where they cut off all updates, no security updates or anything else at that point. And they're hoping that any front ends would look at this support info thing. And if you came in as deprecated, that it started outputting, I think it was they had an extra one in here. Let me make sure I'm quoting them right, because they had another section in here where they said it should output one of these. And I think it was the support info. Yeah, should be displayed by anything with the deprecation status. So they're hoping that if it gets deprecated, this field gets displayed to the end user. So that was their workflow they're looking at.
They just happen to be one of the rare exceptions where setting this as an image annotation ahead of time is reasonable. For almost every other piece of software, knowing this date ahead of time is not a reasonable assumption.
Yeah, it's non-trivial there. It might be, some of the tooling that I've been playing with on the side has been to make changes, mutate an image, and that changes the digest course. But for an annotation, that's a really minimal change. So you could potentially say, we're supporting this for the next 6 months, and then come back 3 months later and say, we're going to support this for another 6 months, just keep pushing that out. So there might be other workflows for
anyone pulling by digest or having that old digest doesn't have a way to check that it's not supported anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that this makes a lot of sense to support somewhere. I just don't think the image spec is the right place.
No, I mean, like, this is one of those things to be amazing if somebody knew this up front. But I guarantee you, as soon as you put a support info URL in here and it's like 5 years out, and then the URL is changed in that 5 years time, and they'll ask for a way to change it without changing the digest or something. Like, yeah, there you go. To me, this is like an ideal thing of, like we've talked with the references, of like, if you slap something to it with a type instead of a signature and SBOM, now it's like support info. Like, so show me all the support info information. So if somebody did attach a new like support info blob or object on something and say, actually, we bumped out the extension, like we're supporting this thing for another 3 months, that they could just build into the client to say, hey, show me everything that's pointing to this digest that's of a type support information or whatever. But sticking it in the object up front is just going to be stale.
Like they are already. Yeah, I like the idea of, especially because I feel like a lot of the organizations do this are just going to sign their images. And so that's part of the signature of, hey, we've signed this, our signature lasts for X months, and we'll come back later on and re-up that later.
Are you suggesting combining the support info with the signature, or you're just likening the workflows?
I'm likening the workflows.
Okay.
But I think some organizations may say our signature implies that we have included support until our signature expires.
I think it's worth redirecting the conversation to how it would be most extensible, most whatever, through the references work group, but because nothing's stopping them from using this workflow now, except for the trying to, nothing's really stopping them from even putting it in those namespace, but except for having it officially in the spec. But I imagine this is going to be not the workflow they're expecting.
Well, they can put the annotation out there. They still need to get run times to look at that annotation and output that to the user. So I don't think runtimes are going to do it unless OCI blesses it.
Well, we're already wishing runtimes would do things like show the digests of everything in the manifest chain down to the object that it's actually being running, and they haven't done that. So it's more of a direct impact sometimes than this. Okay. Do you want me to comment on this, or do you have more comments for them?
I threw my comments already in there, so folks can go in, thumbs up or tell me I'm crazy on some of those. And yeah, I like the idea of reference type, putting the discussion over there if it makes more sense for the bigger community. Otherwise, that was all I had. My biggest changes to this was it was kind of verbose compared to all the other descriptions we had in there. So I was just greatly compressing it down and, taking a whole bunch of lines and just saying, let's just turn that to one sentence.
Actually, it looks like scrolling down to the bottom, Lasker commented yesterday with something similar. So
yeah, I wasn't sure for us as OCI talking about or as artifact spec where to go for that one.
sure, but
yeah, but other than that one little piece there, yeah. I was trying to avoid that third rail. Cool. That was all I had today. Open the floor up to anybody else. Going once, going twice. Otherwise, we're going to let B-Bats rest his poor headache.
oh no, I think the leave is starting to kick in. So good. Thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah.
Added what to do is to upload a bunch of videos.
Yeah. Sorry to throw that on your to-do list.
No. I'm really surprised that it's not an automated workflow and I searched for it, but it seems like everybody in the world that does this does the same tedious steps of downloading from Zune and shoving them up into Google and templating it out. And so
I don't know how they're doing it, but I know that the CNCF security tag has been live streaming theirs to YouTube from Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom has a YouTube live stream feature where it can just stream the recording straight to YouTube and then it's auto uploaded as a live stream.
Yeah, see the option here, since I'm signed in, that we could like live stream on Facebook and
maybe
YouTube and Twitch.
Chris about and see if they could set that up automatically so that it's always live streamed.
But do you really want that?
The only downside is
anybody, every time that somebody opens that link, it starts recording. So usually when I come in here, there's like lots of I guess unless the moderator has to click this button. I guess that would be the difference, because you wouldn't want anytime somebody clicks on it to go straight to YouTube.
Yep.
So it'd just be a reminder of like reminding to start recording to just click this button. We can try that next time.
What's the worst can happen?
Zoom bomb. All right. See everybody online.
Take care.
Bye, guys.